James, good morning. Welcome, or good evening to you. Welcome.
Hi, Kelly. Good morning to you. Yes, thanks
Yes, thank
for
you
having
so
me.
much for us. I loved collaborating with you on this article, and thank you for making time that's convenient for American time zone at 9 a.m. Or 10 Central, 10 Eastern, and is it 11 p.m. your time?
Yes, it's
Yeah,
11 p.m.,
in
just past
Singapore.
11 p.m. my time. Yep.
Yes, thank you so much for doing that. Let's see, I just got a pop-up from StreamYard. They might be having trouble getting this live on LinkedIn, but we are live on YouTube as well. So we'll go ahead and we'll see what happens with the recording of this. And welcome
Okay.
to anybody that joins us live. I'm going to remember to look at my device here to look to see if there's any comments along the way. So feel free to chime in if you're joining live, and if you have questions anytime, let us know. James and I met last summer in a forum, in a kind of like a marketing, writing, consulting forum, and then started having conversations. And we said, let's write this article about how company culture is like Legos, but not just the bricks, also the company. So tying both of those in, so fascinating. And I love that you have experience. So we'll get to that in just a second. But one of the things we talked about several times was that strong cultures aren't accidental, just like building something is not accidental.
Yeah, no, I think based on my own experience, I've had the benefit of working for companies that kind of have very strong cultures. Lego is definitely one of them. And I think how we experience that culture says as much as the different values that the HR team puts up on posters on the walls across all
Mm-hmm.
the offices. I think I was fortunate that within Lego, culture is not something that just gets talked about at year-end appraisal sessions or at town halls. It's really a lived daily practice for not just for the leaders but for everyone in the organization, right? So I think it's I learned about what Lego's culture, what culture is, from my leaders and from my
Mm-hmm.
peers, and seeing how they operate with each other, across different functions, across different geographies. And over time, I guess I learned it, and then I, applied it to my own team as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And you, right before we went on, you shared such a beautiful example of it too, with the new London office.
Yeah, so I just found out today that they are actually opening up a new UK office in London. This beautiful waterfront kind of office, and it's an
Mm,
empty building right now. But what they've done this time, instead of what you would typically expect, which is in other corporations, maybe it's just the facilities team that goes in and then just design everything, and then the leadership team signs off, and then voila, 12 months later, people move into their new office and that they're seeing for the first time. So this time around, they've done something interesting, which I think when I heard it, I was like, oh, this is totally something Lego would do, which is they got actually employees to go into the empty building and to look at the preliminary plans for the designs of, for example, the pantry, the workspaces, the collaborative spaces and all that, and then give little colored post-its and all that, so that they can actually add their own suggestions and comments to the proposed plans, right? So I guess the starting point is the folks wanted to make sure that employees are included in this conversation, because they are going to be the ones that are using the space, and so they jolly well like the space that gets
right.
designed, right? So I think that really speaks to one of the things that Lego's culture stands for, which is including everyone and collaborating with everyone. Yeah.
And such a smart move. How many times have we been part of something similar where the employees don't go over, and then you just go in to move into your office, and this pillar blocked a window that could have been moved over 3 inches, or
Yeah.
the they don't put any greenery in, or and then sometimes the leaders will seek employee input way at the end, and it's more like a token, like a pat on the head, instead of we really would like your input.
Yeah. It's. I think it's interesting that we come to this kind of topic. It wasn't our intention, Kelly, right? But the way that a company designs its or renovates its office is actually a signifier of its culture, right? If you think about it.
Yes.
Yeah, so I've actually had worked for another organization that was quite different. They also had a very strong culture, but in their remodeling, basically the local leadership team had kind of decided, and they did like an employee walkthrough more or less towards the end when all the fixtures were done up. And then, of course, folks are, basically given some opportunity to give feedback and comments, but it was too late to do anything else. I think one of the things that I remember my team, when we went through the space, they were giving feedback on was, I think we might need a bit more phone booths, soundproof phone booths, because all of us have like quick calls with clients and all that. And there's always a scramble for meeting room space, right, to do that. And but because all the space was already filled up, it was just not possible to remodel it to include more phone booths, right? Yeah.
Right. And these days, as our article talks about, company culture is even more important than ever. And it's not such a soft, touchy-feely thing anymore. And that's an example of what you're sharing about the UK office. That's an example of where if they hadn't done that, that could have cost them engagement of employees, but also could have cost money in the end if they didn't have enough booths, if they didn't have enough co-working spaces, or even places for people to take breaks, and then they don't take breaks and they burn out. So it could cost them in the end. So in our article, we talked about how culture is under pressure, and I doubt that will surprise anybody that is watching this, that culture is under pressure with, and in America, we think of it as related to politics is invading everything, but beyond that too, and how businesses are responding to all of that and the markets. But every time I talk with somebody around the world, they have things going on in their countries too. So it's not only about politics or only about one thing. It's all the different changes and big things happening at the same time. And people are different now too. So people have different expectations than they did 10 and 20 years ago, pre-COVID, 5 years ago. So let's dive in. So in the article, there's some data, just a couple quick points about culture paying off. And McKinsey has articles. And what do you think? Maybe we'll link this article after we're done with the broadcast so everybody can see it. So let's go into what we talked about in the article, the building principles for strong cultures. And Lego is modeling those with the new office that they're creating. But we came up with, to try to summarize, three things people do when they're building with Lego bricks that we could do when we're trying to build company cultures. And so the first one you and I talked about was designing before you build. So how people buy the Legos and they look at the box, and take some time kind of planning that out. So do you want to chime in on that?
Yeah, sure. I think I see a culture as something that's built from the team up. So if you are a team leader, you are as much responsible for what the company culture ends up as much as your CEO, right? So I think your CEO is not going to be able to talk to everyone on the ground every day, but you are seeing your team every day, and you're seeing customers every day. Customers see your team every day, right? So I think start there and start thinking about what is the team culture that you would like to experience as an employee, and then how do you kind of as a leader promote that or promulgate that across your own team that is in line with what the company's culture is supposed to be, right? So it's not easy. I think the challenge is that there's no one size fits all. Culture is this. I think in our article we want to kind of equate it to like the base plate of the a Lego box, right? So it's a plate that holds everything together, and you may not see it. It's not the most sexy part of the model, right? People look at the model itself, but basically, if you actually get that right, then it makes a lot of other things so much easier, because people understand without being told. They understand that this is how we work, right? So I think in Lego, for sure, we were doing that. We were emulating our bosses, our leaders, as we are actually coaching and mentoring our teams on a daily basis. And I think there's enough wiggle room. I think that's important as well, as a point, for any managers or people leaders to be able to kind of adapt the culture aspects into your local context, right? For example, for big companies like Lego and many other international companies, you cannot expect that the culture in the French office and the culture in the Singapore office will be the same. They will be different, right? But there will be some common language that they will speak about, and then that's what glues everything together, I think. Yeah.
And the spirit of it is what is important to model everywhere. It's not the exact dress code or the exact time people work every day or take their lunches, or what food is brought into the office, or if it's a pizza party, free pizza doesn't get people, that doesn't make a culture. So it's the spirit of that. And we talk a little bit about the purpose, understanding the purpose of the company, and then the plate, the ground, the foundation for a Lego build. That plate can change, or the plate stays the same, but then the building the building of it can change. And I don't think we talked about this in our article, but when you were saying that, it reminded me too of when you're building, if you have that plate and that foundation, the purpose, the spirit solid, then when there's a crisis, when something happens and you have a solid foundation across the board, then you're able to be resilient, make it through the other side of that a lot stronger and faster, and it's not as painful for everyone. So it's another good benefit of it.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. I think that's very topical right now, because I think a lot of organizations, a lot of leaders are being thrust into this. We call it the poly crisis era, right?
Right.
A lot of things are going on, happening at the same time, right? Like that Michelle Yeoh movie, right? So you basically, as a leader, you are feeling stretched, and actually, if you figure the culture part out, it can help you, because that's something that is unmovable, and people understand, and people understand without being told. I think that's a very, very, very valuable trait to have in a team when it's faced with change. So I think one of the things that I remembered we used to do is we actually kind of sit together and work through what are some of the upcoming changes that impact the team, and then we kind of hear each other out, and then the leader gets a sense of, okay, so where are people more fully on board with the change, and where are people not fully on board, not bought in, and where are people openly resisting the change, right? So I think that's also part of the culture as well, which is that we have this, maybe a little bit of that Scandinavian consensus building kind of, culture that we have as a Scandinavian company, but also that we want to make sure that everyone's voice is heard, and so that in terms of implementation, we ensure maximum success.
Yeah, and the implementation or the execution, the adapting to the change is going to be a lot more wholehearted and sincere, and people will be more creative. They'll bring up challenges early. If they don't feel if they don't feel part of it, and they feel overlooked or taken advantage of, then they go into self-protection mode. I'm not going to speak up because I don't want to get on the radar, and so that having the culture aligned, you can build anything from that, really. And the Lego as a company has done that so well, and then the brick boxes are a model of that too.
It's interesting, Kelly, that we started in the article. We talked about the Lego box itself, and I think most parents can relate to this part, which is that when you buy the box, it is you buy it for one purpose. It's going to look like a plane, or it's going to look like a car, right? But actually, as those of you guys who have kids and who were in that phase, once they built their first car or that model according to the building instructions, and then they replicated what's on the cover of the box, right? The kids are happy. Usually it's the boys, and then what you realize is that some of the children naturally take apart the model and try and recreate it to tell their own stories. And I think culture is a little bit like that as well, because I think as leaders we sometimes forget that culture has to we as leaders have to help our team do the meaning making of the culture, right? So for example, if you have like 5 corporate values, a Gen Z worker coming to the workplace today, joining your team, is not going to be able to relate to any of that. I guarantee it, right? It's going to sound very obscure, very abstract, very far away from what they need to do. I think we as leaders, especially with the younger workers, we have this responsibility to actually sit down with them and then try and make sense and connect what they do, their daily tasks, and maybe their own personal values as well, what's important for them, to what is important for the company. I think there's enough overlap for this exercise to be valuable to both employees and to the company, that I think I would urge all leaders, people leaders, to at least try and take a step at that, and then they'll figure out, okay, these are where my people are. They are actually good on values 1 or 2 in terms of the company values, but maybe 3 or 4 needs a little bit more explanation. They don't feel connected to it. Right, and then you can bring this back to the leadership team and say, hey guys, we need to actually make sure that value 3 and 4, people understand it the way that we need them to understand it, and not just staying alive only on PowerPoint, right? Yeah.
Right. And not beat it into them, or these idiots aren't getting it. What's wrong with them that they don't get it? No, listen to them, and why aren't they getting it? And what can you say? Fixing that disconnect is the leader's responsibility, and they want the better outcome. They need to take that step. Yeah, fantastic. All right, should we move on to our second suggestion? So starting with that foundation was first in designing, and then we also talked about subtracting the outdated. That can be so hard.
Yeah, that's I mean, even when I was working for Lego, that was a challenge. I remember one year we were undergoing some huge strategy change transformation thing. So as usual, as you can imagine, they did a town hall and everyone showed up. So they were asking for comments and questions and all that. So I spoke up and I said that I think people need to realize that in times of such huge change, we also need to remember to give the leaders a little bit of space and time for them to also figure out what they need to do and how differently they need to lead in the new situation. So I think one of the analogies I used was, so if the time before the town hall was us as a team working, paddling in a calm lake in a canoe, the time after this town hall, we're going to be whitewater rafting.
Right,
and that requires different leadership skills, right? Not just member skills, but also leadership skills as well. So we need to realize that this is difficult for them as well, as much as it is for the rest of us. And I think that it's okay for the leaders to kind of take time to figure it out, and then throw out the things that doesn't make sense anymore, so that we can move forward, right? Because I mean, if we need a different paddle for whitewater rafting, let's go grab the different paddle, right? Let's throw out the old one.
Yeah. And making those decisions sooner rather than later, but with intention. And Lego went through a time, they had a tough time where they were trying too many things, and building amusement parks. I did see something recently, a little bit of concern about over licensing. So like, if the Lego brand is everywhere, does it really have anything to do with the lamp or whatever, all the, like every single thing where it is. And so, or the different events and that it sponsors. So, but they went through a stage a few years ago where it was involved in so many things that were different from its purpose, and kind, you know, you can reword anything to make it relate, but it was really not aligned with the purpose. And then they brought in new leaders and changed that to get back to the main purpose.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly, for reminding me about it. Yes, I think the turnaround story of Lego has often been quoted in the business literature.
Yeah.
And I think you can just go and read, for those who are interested, this book called Brick by Brick, and then you can figure out the whole history of that change.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, in a nutshell, it's what Kelly has shared. There was a time when the Lego company actually owned hotels and theme parks themselves, and they were in all kinds of different businesses that were, I guess, an extension of the brand in a way, but it doesn't kind of use or exploit their core strength, which was this whole design and manufacturing operations that was super efficient. You know, the logistics is really top tier, and also designing things and that children love, right? So
Mm-hmm.
experiences that children love, and that was their core. That was what made them so successful. And I think once you actually diverted resources into all these other pieces, then you know, if it's not managed well, then it basically bogs down the whole organization. And that was exactly what happened. Profitability came down, growth stagnated, and so they brought in a young McKinsey consultant who later became the turnaround CEO, the first CEO that was outside the family. And so he was invited by the chairman to actually take over as CEO. And I think he had a very long tenure, successful one, very well respected. And he basically did a few things. One of the things he did was he as a McKinsey consultant, you can imagine, he basically dug through everything in terms of our processes. And then he said that, okay, I think we need to get rid of the hotels. We need to get someone else to kind of run it, because we are not hotel people.
We're not hotel people.
Yeah, we're not hotel people. And then we're
Right.
not park people, and let someone who runs this for a living do it. And then it changes from an operation, an owned operation, into a licensing model or a franchise model, right? So you're collecting royalties and you're supplying them with your brand materials and all that. So it's a different relationship. So I think they changed that. And then I think the second thing was their manufacturing became very, very convoluted with almost 11,000 little parts, and which means that for plastics manufacturing operation, it's 11,000 different molds, more or less, right? That needed to be created each time a new piece is thought of or created in the minds of the toy designer. And so he actually gave the toy designers an ultimatum, basically saying that, guys, we love you to bits, but we need to streamline our supply chain and operations, manufacturing. So we need all of you guys to create new designs from the existing 6,000 pieces that we have. And we'll try it for a few years and then see whether we can do it or not, right? So he did that, and then basically, yeah, he actually trimmed down on that massive supply chain bloat that was going on, that was dragging down the organization. So he went in and did what he felt needed to do. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a specific good example of, he didn't go in and tell them exactly what designs or how to do it. It was a parameter. And he also didn't go from 11,000 to 300. You know, the cutting it in half, little over half is pretty reasonable. And I bet if they got to 7,000 first or 9,000 first, that'd be a good start. And, you know, then adapting and keep working on it. I just saw the other day, Costco is coming. I don't know if our local one has it yet because I haven't been, but a Lego set that has galloping horses in it. So yeah, I'm excited to see what that looks like. I would suspect that's outside of the original 6,000 blocks or bricks that they had, but that's
I wouldn't be surprised if since they trimmed it down to 6,000, things have crept up a little bit more.
Yes,
it's 20 years ago now. Yeah.
And they also have supply chains are different, manufacturing is different now. So I'm sure they're on top of it. Okay,
Yes.
so our first one was design before you build. Our second one was subtract the outdated, and then our third leadership action for cultivating culture like Legos is cultivating community. And we talked about how when people get the Lego box, it's more fun to build with other people than just. And everybody who builds one wants to show it to people too.
Yep.
So you want to have some community there. So share a little more about that.
Yeah, so in back in Lego, we call what you just described, Kelly, as a pride of creation.
Yeah, the pride of creation. I love that.
Yeah, they started this with child psychologists, doing focus groups on like boys 6 to 9 and observing them when they're playing. And rightly, as you pointed out, everyone wants to show off what they've built. It's a human thing, right?
Yeah.
So then they realize that actually there is a community dimension to building, and in its simplest form, that community is child and parent, or child and child. And then in the school setting, we also did education solutions into schools. This would be the classmates, this would be the teacher, and things like that. And I think one of the things that really took off and is an exemplar of the community spirit that we talk about that uses Lego is something called the First Lego League, which is a international global robotics championship that tons of teams are formed around the world. These are high school, all the way from grade school kids are in those teams, and then they learn how to build a Lego robot. They learn how to program it, design it, and the robot needs to solve a particular challenge every year. And so they compete with each other. They get a coach, and it's pretty fun. And I think one of the things that I remember how powerful this concept was one of these competitions that I attended in Taiwan many years ago. And I was walking through the booths, with the different kids, and there was one team of girls from Saudi Arabia, so they had their headdress and everything all covered up, and next to them was a booth of boys from South Korea. And they didn't understand each other's language. They didn't really speak a lot of English. But once they kind of saw what each other was up to, they just went to each other's computers and said, "Hey, I think I know how to solve this." And they communicated through the user interface of the software for the Lego part. And then after that, the boys were like, "Oh, we figured out how to make the robot do this." And then they bowed, and then they went off and did their thing. I thought that was a beautiful moment.
That's amazing.
Example of how the community part comes in. Yeah.
And the community transcended the event and the bricks and just to unify and show you can communicate without the words.
Yeah. And Kelly, I use that now as a Lego Serious Play practitioner as well. This is what I do basically during the day. I get adults to come in and build Lego models. They're all happy to share their models, and we get them to talk about topics that are a little bit more, in the category of the elephant in the room type of topics. Not so easy to talk about, but once they start building, they open up, and you get to uncover, emotions and things that are underneath the surface layer of what's going on. And the leaders that I work with for things like that, they really love the additional insights that they can get because their employees started to open up more. Yeah.
And the employees get that experience to share and bond and, well, first kind of relax, take the edge off, and share and bond without the pressure of a real project or having the deadline of a budget or a customer demand. And so what a beautiful experience that is. I just looked up the Lego competition, our first Lego series, first Lego League is in May of this year, May 29th. And I don't know if they have more than one. Oh, it looks like there are several, but unearthed is the theme. Unearthed.
Right.
Yeah.
I love the kids love it. and the coaches as well. So
Yeah.
I mean, if you guys want to, those who have kids in that age range, they want to try something new, that's something that I think they'll find that it's a lot of fun, and they get to learn STEM coding skills as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I mentioned our article to a good friend here in Kansas City, and she has a son who is, I think he's 7, somewhere around there, but he's really into Lego. And there's a new Lego store in a part of Kansas City. So I haven't been to it yet, but as soon as she found out about it, they had to go and they had to wait in line before it opened one morning. And, just so excited and just for her to see her young son evolve in this way. And she's not giving him instructions. She's not, they're not reading a manual about it, and he's figuring it out and building things and building things that aren't on the box.
Right.
So
yeah, that's the best value for the children. I think once they are able to creatively and freely build, and that's when you get the brain juices flowing. And they use it for storytelling. They use it for refining their ideas. And as adults, when we do facilitation, it's the same processes at work, basically.
Right. And many adults do design with Legos and take breaks with that. On the weekends and all of that. So it's not just for kids.
No, not at all.
And we use the analogy in our article about company culture and building it. And we talk about it doesn't usually break because of one thing. It breaks over time. It doesn't break the same way that when a parent is walking in the middle of the night and steps on a Lego, and everybody knows that pain, right? And you step on a Lego brick, and that just hurts more than anything in the whole world. So culture breaks differently than that, but the pain can still be as real.
Yeah. I think just on that parents stepping on bricks thing, I am told, I haven't verified this, I'm told that someone who will shortly get the thanks of millions of parents around the world have invented some Lego slippers that are meant to avoid parents that stepping on toes. So
they'll be a hero to everyone.
That's something that Lego itself didn't come up with. I think it was the user community generated, and someone decided to manufacture it and sell it to parents who feel the pain. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. Well, that's kind of like us working with companies on their culture and figuring out things and coming up with solutions for them, even if it's something simple like that, like their slippers, coming up with something, a way to help them maneuver and step around and figure things out and know where everything is. And, kind of like what we're doing in our work. So.
Yeah, I think it's that's a lot of interesting terminology we use inside Lego that I think are relevant for organizations as well. I think one of the concepts that we haven't talked about yet is something called clutch power, right? So you said that, how things gel together in an organization, things don't fall apart just because of one thing, right? So for two Lego bricks, actually, they're designed in such a way that when you actually join them properly, it's sometimes difficult to take them apart.
Right.
So they stay together. They stay together. And so that's something called clutch power. It's how the studs and the holes are designed. And so Lego was the first company that kind of pioneered that and patented it years and years ago. And so I think that's a good analogy for us as people working with organizations or as leaders in organizations, that when we try to build culture, I think to really stay away from the notion that culture needs to be built separately, or it's the remit of only the HR team. No, you are a living, breathing example of the culture. And if you actually figure this out and it sticks, then you can be sure that your team sticks with you through change and transformation in a much smoother way and a less painful way. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And how much more fulfilling that is for the employees, for the leaders, just to have to go to work every day in an organization like that. And
yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. Oh my gosh, this was so fun, and we could continue talking for hours, but we went a little longer than I anticipated, but we added to the article and shared a lot of tips that weren't in there. So I'm really glad we were able to do that for our viewers and anybody that reads the transcript. So thank you so much, James. In the LinkedIn post and on YouTube where this is broadcast, I'll make sure to put your LinkedIn link there, and feel free to connect and watch for the comments as well. And thank you to all of our viewers now or in the future. If you have any questions for me or James, please let us know. And we look forward to watching you build your companies and helping you, if we can, to have that clutch power to keep your teams together. So best wishes for all of your building, everyone. Thank you again, James.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Kelly. Bye.